Bailey,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Burrell,
Here.
Casper,
Here.
Sari,
Here.
Chase,
Here.
Pop, Crockett Hubbard,
Here.
Dean Shinbrot, Fitzgerald,
Here.
Flax,
Here.
Fortner,
Here.
Foster, Frickman, David Gothier, Lauren Gothier,
Here.
Gustafson, Hainline, Hanscom,
Here.
Jacome,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
Gutowski, Merritt,
Skips right over to task.
Perry,
Here.
Kristen Powers,
Here.
Don Powers,
Here.
Pacino,
Here.
Ray,
Here.
Richards,
Here.
Jason Rusk,
Here.
Bill Rusk,
Here.
Starkley,
Here.
Stevenson,
Here.
Thomas, Washington,
Here.
Watson, Wells,
Here.
Whitehouse, Whitney,
Here.
Evan,
Here.
count 29, unless somebody else came in.
Chase
Dean Shinbrot came in.
Betsy, did you hear me about Chase Foster?
Nope.
He is here. He couldn't unmute, he said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay, so let me get that's 31. That's 31.
Great. Looks like we have a quorum. Thank you guys for coming in on this hot, sweaty night. So the first item on our agenda is a moment of silence. And I just want to say, as we kind of look forward to the end of maybe this phase of this pandemic, maybe we will have an opportunity to start meeting in person. But I just wanted to remind us that there are still people getting this virus and dying of it every day in Connecticut and all over the world. And so there are new variants being developed. And I just wanted to ask us, everyone and everyone watching, if they will, try their best to get a vaccine to avoid this so that we can meet in person at some point. And that we should really keep in our hearts all those people who are suffering or whose loved ones are suffering or who are caring for people who have this disease. So we'll have a moment of silence, and then I'm going to ask Representative Foster to lead us in the pledge. Representative Foster, would you like to lead us in the pledge, if you can unmute?
Sure, will do. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Glad to be back. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United
of the United States of America,
and to
and
the
to the republic
For
which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all. Thank you. That was good. Now, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the May 12th minutes of our RTM meeting, the regular meeting. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I saw a motion made by Representative Adams, and I'm not really sure who seconded that.
Chase.
Chase, Representative Chase, thank you. Are there any discussion on those minutes? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of our May 12th meeting, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain, bro.
This is 30 in favor, none opposed, one abstention. The next item on our agenda is citizens petitions, and that's the time when the R.T.M agenda, when we welcome comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 4 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentation should be limited to matters pertinent to Groton, and I or members through me can ask questions of the speaker only in order to clarify that presentation. Responses can be given by me and or the town manager. And all citizens should state their name and address for the record. Are there any folks who wish to speak tonight? Does anyone know?
I didn't get any requests, and I asked town manager if he got any.
Our office has not received any.
Thank you. I see Representative Gauthier.
Yes, Lessa citizens petition and a request for a personal point of privilege to congratulate Representative Foster on his new baby and thank him for staying engaged despite the most wonderful thing in the world happening to him. He's completely dedicated to this town, and I appreciate that he's still going to meetings even though that beautiful bundle of joy is right there next to him. So congratulations, Chase, and to Bree, of course.
Thank you, Representative Gauthier. I will second that statement, and we are all really thrilled for you. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Any other items folks wish to communicate? We're kind of moving into the reception of communications. Representative Richards.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I wanted to note that I heard from Representatives Jackie Kopp and Ian Thomas that they won't be attending this evening.
Thank you. I would add also Representative Watson and Katowski to that list.
May I also add Representative Handline, who is working?
Thank you. All right, any other items that folks wish to communicate? No. All right, I know Town Manager Burt, would it be possible for Superintendent Austin to give her report before you, because she has a big meeting tomorrow?
Sure, I was going to recommend that anyhow. I'll be here all night.
Thank you so much. Superintendent Austin, if you'd like to give us your report, we would enjoy hearing it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burt. I certainly appreciate it. Well, it's a very busy time of year for our schools, coming to an end and trying to get in all our celebrations. We've had a couple threatening storms, so we've had to move our music concert to this weekend and our senior awards to next Monday. You know, we still have to follow CDC and state guidelines, and really they're a little stricter on the schools than they have been on the rest of the community. So we're still wearing masks and we're still, trying to distance. Our children really, we've had a couple vaccine clinics so that our Fitch High School students and Groton Middle School students have had the opportunity to get vaccinated right at Fitch High School. But little children, we're not certain how that's all going to play out. So we just want to take those extra precautions. As Sima had said, there are still people getting very sick and even dying from this horrible thing. So we just want to be super cautious and not promote any spread in our schools. I also have to say that I attended an IB awards ceremony. We had about I would say 20 students this year. When Mike and I first got here, there were about 6 who were graduating with their international baccalaureate diploma. And, we've really increased that number. We have, we're looking at having a careers program for IB. And we certainly have the MYP for all, so that all kids know this is something that with some hard work and, real care they can do, all kids can do. And we want to promote that. The other thing I would say is look out for events like Fitch High School graduation, which is on the 18th with the rain date on the 19th. Groton Middle School will have their graduation on the 15th, and all is going to be outside. The Fitch High School will be on their field, and Groton Middle School will be on their new turf field outdoors. Our Groton 2020 continues. My new assistant superintendent, Dr. Phil Piazza, and I hope to introduce you to him this summer. He and I have gone to both the Mystic River School and the Thames River Magnet School for tours and just see, these wonderful showcases. Such pride in walking through our Groton Middle School and these other two new elementaries. Our teachers should be able to move in August as planned, and they're packing now and getting themselves ready. So very exciting news for Groton. I also wanted to mention that I have done a transportation audit with the TransFinder company. We'll be reporting that information to the Board of Ed on Monday at a COW. We welcome anybody who would like to come, and I can certainly let the RTM and Town Council know about this once I've let the board know. But I think the real thrust for this was for efficiency reasons. We've heard townspeople say the buses are not filled to capacity, and they're right. In doing the audit, we had those findings not only in COVID year, but in years past. And it was really important for us to make sure that our elementary magnet schools, all 5 will be intra-district magnets, and we want to make sure the kids get to school on time and have plenty of time, and they aren't on the buses too long. So that's really a driving force to all of this. And then, of course, having an international baccalaureate campus at the top of Fort Hill with both Fitch High School and Groton Middle School. So more to come on that. The other thing is our CARES Act. We had a CARES Act 1 and 2, and now we have the ARP ESSER, which is the American Rescue Plan. And I will be bringing a committee together of educators, community members, parents, and a board member tomorrow morning with a ESSER facilitator through CAPS, Connecticut Association of School Superintendents, to really follow the protocol very carefully. And I look forward to bringing this to both the Town Council and the RTM, because part of the process in the ARP ESSER, besides the planning that goes into it, is also to get feedback from our community. And I see both the Town Council and the RTM as wonderful vehicles for this, and look forward to doing that this summer and gathering your feedback. The ARP ESSER plan has to be in by the end of August. So more to come on that one too. And then summer learning, because of the different CARES Act, we're really providing wonderful engagement for our kids this summer through summer camps. We have a STEM camp that's funded by Department of Defense Education Activity STEM grant. We have a literacy camp that is being funded by the ESSER. And then we also have an elementary math camp. And kids will go home with, backpacks of all kinds of items to do over the summer. We also have a summer learning website for families who might have missed the camp, but want to participate in the Governor's Reading Challenge or Math Challenge, with all kinds of activities to do. Groton Middle School decided to do, instead of just plain old summer school, they're doing a STEAM experience, STEAM camp for their students. And so everything from robotics to some math instruction, building benches, really doing some fun things, some real authentic practices. So we're looking forward to that. And then Fitch High School, due to an asbestos project, will be at Groton Middle School. And they have some course recovery and summer school and enrichment opportunities for students. So that, along with some tutoring, and I just met with the rec department from the town of Groton, And we're talking about ways that we can collaborate by allowing them to use our libraries in both Claude Chester and Mary Morrison. There's still a lot of books that we won't throw away. We'll make sure they get in the hands of kids and they'll be used by our rec departments, and some older Chromebooks so that kids can actually do some summer learning and have tutors come to them at the rec camp. So I'm really excited about collaboration and making sure that this is a fun summer for the kids, but also to do as much as we can in the summer and before and after school to continue their learning and really accelerate their learning. We're really looking forward to getting our kids back and engaging them in learning. So that's really a goal for us. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Superintendent Austin. Are there any questions? Representative Washington?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. Superintendent Austin, do you know the percentage of the children that were vaccinated?
I don't, and I'm really not allowed to ask. That's one of those FERPA issues.
Okay.
So we really are encouraging families. We're trying to make it accessible for them, you know, and kind of making it really easy for them to attain those, but we're not mandating that they be vaccinated. The schools, you know, have not committed to that kind of thing, but we are encouraging it. And we did have a lot of people participate in the Fitch High School vaccination clinic. There were over 200 students who were able to get both vaccinations.
And my second question is, how long are the summer camps?
So the summer camp is a week for the STEM, the literacy, another week for the literacy, and a third week for the math. And then the middle school, I think, is either 4 to 6 weeks. And the same for the summer school for Fitch High School, and the credit recovery is 6 weeks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Representative Cassieri.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Hi, Superintendent Austin. I was just wondering the percentage of the elementary students that are participating in those STEAM math and literacy camps, if you had that number.
I don't have the percentage, but we, the last time I checked with the coordinators of the program, we're getting about 300 to 350 students for each of the camps, which is really pretty exciting.
Thank you very much. My 2 little ones are very excited to go.
Awesome. If I were a mom, I would sign mine up for all 3 weeks because it's going to be fun, fun, fun.
Thank you. That sounds great. Anyone else with questions? Representative Washington?
Is there a limit to the number of students in each camp?
You know, Beverly, I was a little concerned because I didn't know that I would get the turnout for teachers. But I'm telling you, I have about 20 to 25 teachers in each of the camps, as tired as you'd think they'd be. They're coming out for tutoring and the camps, and they're coming out to do some curriculum work so we can be sure that when we assess our kids, we'll accelerate their learning and there won't be gaps. So a big shout out to Groton Public Schools teachers and administrators. They are just amazing. And I've had a few say, you know, I'm a little tired, but these are my kids and I want to make sure I'm there for them.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Austin.
Yes.
And the best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we all wish you luck and all the students a great summer, of a rebound, of healing, a time of healing.
Yes, I know. I'm feeling the same thing, but I'm looking forward to coming back because I really do need to get community input on some of these things. So I really look forward to coming back over the summer and sharing some of this work.
Thank you. I think we'd appreciate it. And I know that the RTM really appreciates learning about what the Board of Ed and what the schools are doing. So thank you.
Thanks. And I appreciate it being able to get on.
Good.
Can I ask one last question?
Please.
Will the RTM be taking tours of the two two new elementary schools like we did the middle school?
Absolutely. I can't wait to show them off. They're not ready yet, but by, the end of the summer, we certainly look forward to that. And we look forward to bringing our families in. The problem with Groton Middle School was, we went into COVID, so it was really hard for our families to even get in to see it. So I'm looking forward to families seeing Groton Middle School for the first time.
Thank you. Yes, I haven't seen it. I would like to see it.
I know.
Anyway, seeing no more questions, I want to thank you for coming here and
Thank you.
let you go prepare for your big meeting that I heard about.
Okay.
So
I
thank you.
appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Mr. Burt, did you want to give your town manager's report?
Sure.
Thank
One
you.
sec, please. Okay, good evening, everyone. First, the financials. The fund balance as of May 31st, 21 is approximately 27 million, which is 20% of the FYE 21 general fund adopted budget. The general contingency budget for 21 was appropriated at 350,000. Including those that are on the agenda for tonight, for the fourth quarter transfers, the amount would be left at 180,896. The capital reserve fund remains at about 1.1 million, which it's been at for a while. Just a reminder, after this meeting, or else by tomorrow morning, I always send this report out now too, so you'll get it in the email. For my report, in the last COVID report from the health department came out last Thursday, which hopefully everyone received from me. There was 13 cases for the 2 weeks prior, which is getting better and better. The average daily rate went from 3.9 down to 2.4. So continued progress. Probably everyone knows, but starting this week, Monday, we no longer require masks in the town facilities as long as you've had your vaccination shots, matching what most places are doing. American Rescue Plan, the ARP funding, we finally got, this last week, we finally found out how much we're going to be receiving. We're going to receive, the town will receive just under 8.6 million. And there was some new rules, there's some new guidance that came from the federal government to the state 2 weeks ago. The state had not planned on distributing funds to the subdivisions, but now they are per the guidance from the federal government. So the city of Groton will receive about 2.6 million. Groton Long Point will receive about 150,000. We're going to get 50% of the funds in the next week or two. They're under a timeline from the federal government, the state, so we're going to get it pretty fast. Today, all the towns had to have their requests in for that funding to the state. The town is going to have a long-term recovery committee meeting on the 30th to discuss uses of the funding. The town council will have to approve uses of the funding, and then of course it'll have to come to the RTM. So hopefully we can, I'm eager to get money out to those who need it. So hopefully we can move it along pretty fast. So just to put that on your radar. I'll keep you updated as we learn more. Reminder, on July 27th at our COW, there'll be a Connecticut Department of Transportation presentation on improvements at I-95 and Allen Street. So I'm eager to see what those are going to be. I know they're looking at some traffic lights there, so I'm eager to see their presentation. The just quick thing I'm mentioning, the Nautilus Dock at the Submarine Force Museum. Expectation is hopefully that dock will start construction in the fall. However, the lead time on materials is the only thing that could hold that up. So hopefully the fall. I'm sure, I can't remember if I mentioned last week, but I think most people are knowledgeable or have heard about that Noink Riverview Avenue parking issue, where there's historically been about 6 parking spots used by the public there on Riverview Avenue in Noink. Turns out that half of that property appears to be privately owned, recently discovered in the last year or two. So we have the land on the water side, which is really, we have all the pile of rocks, and then they have the land where they have a little bit, like half a couple parking spots, but they have most of the parking area. They have offered to swap parts of their land for parts of our land. So essentially each entity would have 3 parking spots. The alternative, we've offered to purchase the property. There's no interest there. So the other alternative would be some sort of legal action. but we'll see where that goes. But I know I'm getting a lot of questions about that one. Public Works this week should have started the resurfacing of New London Road and Morgan Road cul-de-sacs on those roads. Let's see, transfer station beginning Wednesday, July 7th, will start being open on Wednesdays at the transfer station. So I think there'll be a lot of people pleased with that. And then soon there'll be a referral to the town council, actually the GRRRA, the Resource Recovery, basically the council, to set the new fees for the transfer station, which will be a lowering of the fees. We're also going to allow the price of day passes to be applied towards seasonal passes if it's done within 30 days of purchase. We get that question a lot there. And we're also looking at prorating the cost of seasonal permits. So I think a lot of people will be happy. It's definitely one of our more popular amenities that we provide to the community. And then hopefully, I don't know, this has just come up in the last couple of days. Last year, our public works department worked on trying to get solar for the new middle school, and then the former Cutler elementary building. Going through the Green Bank through the state, we did not make the list last year. We're trying that again. Public Works, I know, has been in touch with Sam Kilpatrick at the Board of Ed, so hopefully second time's the charm. And with that, I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Burt. That was very interesting. Madam Clerk?
Oh, I just wanted to add that Sandy Hollow is scheduled for some resurfacing, and the town council will be having a public hearing on July 6th. I'm required to tell the R.T.M. So there you go.
Yeah. And just to mention, there's no changes being made on that road. Even when you just pave and keep everything the same, you still have to have a public hearing on scenic roads.
Thank you. Representative Jones?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Byrd, just a quick question. You may have said it as you were zipping by on the things. There.
You saying I talk fast?
You say you talk fast. What is the news on the senior center, when it will be open for? I know some activities are starting to be moved inside. You have sort of a little bit more information on the opening of the senior center.
I don't have it on hand. The intent is to get it fully open soon, but when I send my report out, the copy of my report out, I'll get that answer for you tomorrow, if that's okay. Let me write that down real quick.
That's great. Thank you.
Representative Richards?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Burt, I was wondering, when you talked about the money being sought for solar panels for Mystic Middle and the former Cutler, is this also being considered for a former West Side, or do they already have funding for that? No, because the Groton Utilities doesn't participate in that program. Only Eversource does. So we're limited to the Eversource area at this time. Okay. Are you looking at all for any other way to try to help fund that? I'm not sure where. I think it's come up at the Permanent School Building Committee. I'm not sure if they've thought further about that. I think part of that is, my understanding is every place was getting sort of the conduit and the prep, to be able to accept that at some point. But that might be something, and if you have that recommendation, I'll pass that on to them to consider. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Washington.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Burt, when you said that you're going to open the buildings up and the patrons do not have to wear masks if they are vaccinated, are you checking to see if they're vaccinated, or are you going on an honor system?
Honor system. We really can't check people, and I don't think any place really is.
No, you're right, Matt. I'm sorry to butt in, but just like Dr. Austin said, we're not allowed to ask. It's against HEPA.
All right, so you're just opening up the buildings then, because you won't know who's vaccinated and who's not.
Representative Starkley? Representative Starkley, you have the floor.
Yeah, yes, sorry. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Burt, why doesn't Groton Utilities participate in the solar program?
I can't tell you that offhand, but I can find out that. I'm sure I can find that out. I'll send that out to you too.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure I've heard it before, but the last time I was involved in it's been a year and I just don't remember anymore. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Burt, can you also find out why they don't do energy audits for people?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have to say, I think that the answer to this just falls into the fact that it's a municipal utility and they are exempt from a lot of the requirements that the state ones have required to do and allowed to do. But we can get more details on that. Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I may have missed it. Do we have vaccination rates for the town of Groton? Or is that also something we don't?
I don't have anything with, I don't think I've heard in a while, but I can ask, I'll reach out to health department and see if they have anything.
Okay, because I think Connecticut's got one of the highest averages in the state.
Yeah,
so I just like to
it does.
see how we compare to our state average.
Yeah, I'll reach out to the health department.
Okay, thank you.
And I just kind of wanted to follow up quickly on Representative Stevenson. Is there any testing on the variants? I had heard today that the Delta variant is like 8% of the new infections. I believe that's in the US. And I just didn't know if there were any Connecticut specific or Groton specific information on COVID variants that were driving the infections.
I haven't heard anything, but I'll check with Mr. Mansfield on that too.
Thank you so much. Representative Casper?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. As far as Groton Utilities go, I know a few years ago they did do energy audits. And also we have solar, and I can comment that their solar program is not as good as it should be.
Thank you. Representative Cassieri?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Burt, when we do go back to in-person meetings, will there still be like a possible hybrid model so that citizens that can't be vaccinated, or even council or us or Board of Ed that can't be vaccinated, will that still be available?
At this point, there's a bill that the state's been looking at to allow that ongoing. Now, of course, today was the last day for regular session. I know they're coming back for special session from the recreational marijuana, but if everything stays the same, the current executive orders end June 30th, and there would not be a hybrid model allowed. So unless something happens, currently it'll end the 30th.
Okay, thank you.
I do think they'll pass something to allow hybrid. So I don't know if they would possibly do it though in special session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I see Madam Clerk has her hand up.
Yes, just as a follow-up to the hybrid, according to FOI, you're allowed to attend meetings electronically. And so I don't understand why we need anything from the legislature, since it's already on statute through our FOI laws. So, that's really something that is about freedom of information, of attending a meeting and electronic. We're doing it right now electronically. And
there's a little more restrictions in the FOIA version. It's a little looser in the executive orders. I forget offhand, but there is a difference.
Right, but you're using, that we have the COVID stuff right now, but FOI has always been there for electronic, so telephone or teleconference or video is allowed.
Now, what I don't know is if you still count towards quorum, you can vote, but I'm not sure if you can count towards quorum. I'd have to look at it. There's some differences like that. But we'll see what happens anyways.
Yeah, the RTM had actually started to allow members to connect electronically before
Yeah, very
COVID
common.
shut us down. So we were using Betsy's phone, which is the town clerk's phone, excuse me, which is probably the less ideal way to do this. So I think Zoom and our expertise, if you will, with Zoom would probably really enhance the hybrid format if we can move forward that way.
And I think part of it is without a change, of course, the public will have to be required, will have to be allowed all in public to be in person. And then GMTV was Sean and Liam, they are working on for the 3 main conference rooms at the annex. They're working on getting set up for hybrid, and because something is going to happen. Yeah, we'll be allowed to some version, but I'm sure they're working on it for the senior center too, but I don't know the status offhand. I don't know if anyone's listening right now on GMTV that wants to weigh in. Now, is there any plan, what about for the senior center, for the RTM room? Okay.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised, so I just want to thank you. And I believe, is there, do you know, an economic development briefing tonight or no?
They're here tonight, but they don't have a briefing
Okay.
prepared.
Thank
And
you.
if anyone hasn't seen it, I'll send a link out later. They did a great background information and talked about the process and TIF for the Mystic Education Center at the Cow last night. Very informative. There's a lot of people not understanding, for instance, the TIF process. I'm hearing a lot that, you know, you're not collecting taxes through TIF, which is not the case. You collect the full taxes and you refund a portion, likely not more than 50% back to the business. So there's a lot of that kind of information on there for everyone to see. I'll send that link out when I send the other info out.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is the liaison reports. Is Representative, I wanted to note one thing, that Representative Gustafson has arrived, so our quorum is at 32, I remember count. But Representative Wells, do you have a Golf Advisory Committee report? Representative Wells, you're on mute if you are speaking.
No meeting, no report.
Thank you. Representative Rusk, do you have an Economic Development Advisory Commission report?
I do, thank you, and I apologize. I forgot to type these up, so they're a little scattered, but I'll try to get through them very quickly. There was a discussion on the business forum and reaching out to business owners to discuss forum topics. There was an overview of the Mystic parking study. So if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I will give you a couple of highlights. There was a discussion on expanding paid public parking at the art museum lot, metering and expanding 2-hour parking zones, offering mobile payment options and paying at the meter, offering merchant validation options at the meter, establishing employee parking, and parking enforcement coverage using wireless handheld tickets, things like that, promoting valets and tandem parking spaces. And then additionally in the summertime, talking about free parking lots on the periphery with shuttle services. So that's just some of the topics that were discussed, but I would recommend reading the whole thing. With the May 19th relaxation of COVID guidelines, there's been a lot of discussion regarding mask use in business. So that is definitely a topic for everybody. So please just keep an eye on what businesses have and what they're requesting you to use before you enter into a building. Medtronics is a business coming in on Flanders Road. They're hiring 30 new employees. There's a Groton housing study that's being done, looking at what is actually needed in Groton. And Triton Square they've completed the demo and they're looking at construction. Colonel Ledyard School has been received by the city zoning. That was done on May 18th. And Pleasant Valley School, we're going to be looking at for disposition. And that is about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Kassiri, do you have a town council report?
I do. Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Town Council met virtually for the regular monthly Town Council meeting on June 1st. The Council read Proclamation 2021-409, recognizing June as Pride Month in the town of Groton. The Council approved 2021-407-1, Establishment of Tax Rate for the General Fund, FYE 2022. The RTM approved the general fund budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, providing for expenditures totaling $137,644,367. This concludes that the tax rate for taxes due on July 1st will be established at 25.98 mils per $1,000 of assessed valuation to raise $95,813,539. The council also approved 2021-408 establishment of tax rate for Mumford Cove District Fund FYE 2022. The RTM approved the Mumford Cove District budget for the 2022 fiscal year, providing appropriations totaling $21,180. The tax rate for the taxes due for Mumford Cove District Fund on July 1st, 2021 will be established at 0.33 mils per $1,000 of assessed valuation to raise $20,180. 2021-410, establishment of tax rate for Groton Sewer District FYE 2022 was approved by the Town Council. The RTM approved the Groton Sewer District budget for fiscal year 2022, providing appropriations for $1,396,418. The tax rate for the Groton Sewer District Fund is established at 0.37 mils per $1,000 of assessed valuation to raise $890,218. The full amounts and the formulas and the details are in my Town Council Liaison Report that the clerk sent out today.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Also, the Town Council approved 2021-405 Cable Television Advisory Council of Southeastern Connecticut 2021 grant program. This authorizes the town manager to apply for and receive grant funding in the amount of $3,500 from the Cable Television Advisory Council of Southeastern Connecticut. This will allow GMTV to upgrade video recording equipment at the Groton Public Library. 2021-360 FYE 2021 suspense list was passed by the council. The suspense list is as follows for FYE 2021. The town, $339,344.71. Sewer, $240.74. Mumford Cove, $3.99. The council passed the 2021-177 Neighborhood Assistance Act. The town council approved the proposals for the Sacred Heart School, Riverfront Children's Center, Fairview, and Avery Cop Museum for the 2021 Neighborhood Assistance Act. And the town clerk already brought up Sandy Hollow Road. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for July 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very informative. I want to put out another plea for a member to become the Board of Ed liaison. If you so choose, we lost our liaison quite a while ago, and it would be wonderful if one of you had an interest in summarizing the meetings. Now you would just have to watch them on Zoom. Anyway, let's see. We also have Representative Jones, the Trails and Parks liaison.
No meeting, no report.
Thank you. And Representative Chase, we have a liaison report.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Town and City Council's RTM Board of Education Liaison Committee met on June 2nd. The meeting was called to order at 5:34 p.m. The Board of Education report is the board that the superintendent creates board notes and weekly updates, and she would like to send them out to the town council and RTM to keep them informed of all the goings on at the schools. The superintendent had a meeting with Dr. Kathy Bosno regarding embedded coaching for math for the teachers using relevant ways to do math. The DoD money will be used to pay for this. An elementary STEM camp will be held and will be attended by 25 teachers and 350 students in the summer. There'll be a literacy camp to close the achievement and COVID gaps. As the superintendent already said, they're doing a transportation audit to look for efficiencies and cost savings. The school calendar has been approved for the upcoming year. Blues and Beyond in the MYP Middle School had an integrated English language arts, social studies, and music experience in African-American music, and approximately $6.5 million has been received through COVID relief. 1.5 million is to be used, will be used in closing the achievement gap. The town council report, the budget is complete. The mill rate has been set. The mill rate is 25.98. 2.851 million of the unassigned fund balance will be used to partially meet expenditure appropriations to keep the increase where it was set. The Neighborhood Assistance Act proposal for Sacred Arts School, Riverfront Children's Center, Fairview, and Avery Cop Museum was approved, and a public hearing was set for July 6, 2021 for the resurfacing of Sandy Hollow Road. There was no city council report. The RTM report, RTM committee meetings were held to review sections of the FYE 2022 budget. The RTM finished budget deliberations on May 24th and sent it back to the town council for approval. The RTM authorized the sale of the former Groton Heights School, and the RTM Finance Committee met to review and approve Mystic Coastal Access wayfinding signage, Pleasant Valley School property sale, Crystal Lake Road reconstruction, and approval of the fourth quarter transfers. Under new business, a question was asked regarding safety concerns on a portion of the Route 12 corridor. Submarines will be coming in soon with an increase in students, and there's a housing shortage in Groton for newcomers, and the Silly School is in process now, and the meeting adjourned at 6:03 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. If any other members wish to update the body on the committees that those are the formal liaison positions, but I know members serve on a number of different bodies. So if anyone would like to, Representative Stevenson. Representative Casper. Representative Stevenson, can I just ask, did you want to ask a question?
Sorry, no, sorry. I just wanted to clarify, thinking about it, moderator, that the USS Hartford did come into port at EB, and so that is now in effect, I guess.
Was that a question? Sorry, I didn't quite catch it. No. All right, Representative Washington.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The DEI Event Subcommittee is holding an event on Saturday, July 24th at Chronic Plains. It's going to be Groton Eats Globally, and we're going to have food trucks down there, music. So I hope everybody marks their calendar. And also the DEI committee is having training on LBQT, I don't know the letters, but they're having training on that. So if people that haven't signed up for the training, I think they might still be time to sign up for the training.
Thank you.
I think it's LBGTQ, right? I think that's
correct.
It.
Representative Casper.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Did you have a question? You're on mute. Or did you wish to speak?
Yes, I thought I unmuted myself, but it muted again. The Groton Long Point Bridge Task Force meeting in May was canceled. The reason was the engineering consulting group was doing the grading and the causeway for the bridge. for the causeway and the bridge, and they weren't ready for discussion. And also the hydrology study has now been released. The next meeting will be June 17th.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you, guys. So we're coming up to the next part of our agenda, which notes the Civilian Oversight Outreach Committee, and it's actually the Civilian Oversight Research Committee, CORC. And I just wanted to say that I believe that was a special committee that was formed last year. And I believe that they have completed their assignment that I gave them. And so that CORC will be removed from the agenda for now. And the items on our agenda then are the Finance Committee with its 5 referrals. So Chair Washington, would you like to read your minute? Oh, I see Representative Grothier has her hand up.
Yes, I was just wondering if there was any update about what happened to the report that was transmitted to the council. Have they discussed it at all? I mean, perhaps, is Chair Thomas here? Perhaps he could give us no, okay. If we could get an update about that. I don't know if the council has discussed it or has taken up any of the recommendations, but if we could get an update, that might be nice, even though the committee has concluded their research.
This is John. It's okay if I answer that?
Yes, please.
Once it was transmitted to the council, they then referred it to the Public Safety Committee of the town. The Public Safety Committee, I think it's probably been about 6 weeks ago, did approve. They did recommend those same recommendations to the town council. It is on their list to take up, but they have a lengthy list right now of things queuing to go to the council. So it will get there, but I can't tell you exactly when.
Thank you.
Thank you. So then anyway, Chair Washington, did you want to share your minutes with us? You're on mute if you were speaking. Did we lose Chair Washington? Oh no, she's here.
Hello?
Hi, there you go. Great.
Okay, my phone was ringing. I had to go run and answer the phone. Moderator Eben, do you want me to stop after each account, or do you want me to read all my minutes together and then you're going to go back and do it separately?
What do you think is the best way? I think probably reading all the minutes is fine.
Okay. All right, call to order. Chair Washington called the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. on June 2nd, 2021 via Zoom. Roll call. In attendance were members of the committee, Representatives Kathy Chase, Bruce Flax, Chase Foster, and Sean Powers. Absent were members, Representatives Clarence Casper and Roseanne Katowski. Also in attendance were Town Manager John Burt, Director of Finance Cindy Landry, Director of Planning and Development Services John Rayner, Director of Public Works Greg Hanover, Economic and Community Development Manager Paige Bronk, RTM Moderator Sima Eben, and Representative Ed Jacome. Unfinished business, none. New business, 2021-187-2, Mystic Coastal Access Wayfinding Signage. Representative Flax made a motion to authorize the allocation of $40,000 of Capital Reserve Fund unassigned fund balance for a FYE 2021 Capital Reserve Fund project entitled Mystic Coastal Access Wayfinding Signage and referred to the RTM for approval, seconded by Representative Chase. Discussion. John Reiner, Director of Development and Planning Services, stated that originally the state said they would reimburse the town $15,000, but now can be up to $20,000 that they will allocate towards this project. It will be somewhere between $20,000 to $25,000 town money and at least $15,000 state money. We have to allocate the whole amount, $40,000 in expenditure. The plan is to replace the signage we have now. The town had planned to do this pre-COVID. Representative Flax asked what is included. This is specifically for coastal access along the Mystic River. These are not signs for parking, etc. These signs are for directing people to the coastal access. The town wanted to do something more unique and colorful with the new signage, wanted to make the access more clear and so people know about the trail. The town wants to make sure there is more connection by installing these signs. There was a question about the cost of the signs. The response was that the price for the signs is going out to bid, so no price yet for signs. Cost will be for signs and wrapping for pylons. All existing signs will be replaced. These are heavy-duty signs, so they cannot be stolen. There was a question about installation. John Reiner said that his department will be working with Public Works for the installation of the new signs. Representative Foster asked if any other projects were included in this project. The answer was no other projects included. This project is on its own. Representative Powers asked if maps would be available to people. The answer was that there will be a map/brochure to hand out for the public. No further discussion. Vote to approve the motion. Passed unanimously. 4.2, 2021-103-7, Pleasant Valley School property sale and referral to the RTM. Representative Chase made a motion to authorize the sale of and to recommend the sale of the former Pleasant Valley School to the RTM for approval, seconded by Representative Foster. Discussion. John Reiner stated that the discussion has to do with the disposition of property. The buildings need to be demolished and land remediated. The site is 17 acres in size. There are 4 buildings on this site. The town has done basic remediation on this site, including removal of oil tank. The town council held a public hearing on April 6, 2021 for the sale of this property and referred the sale to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission found that the sale of the property is consistent with the plan of conservation and development. The town council formed the committee to discuss this property. No preferred developer is selected yet. The committee heard from citizens about need for open space and recreation amenities as well as trails in this area. Representative Foster asked what is going to guarantee that there will be open space and recreation, or is it possible not to sell the whole thing and save a piece of the property? Response was that the RTM just approves the sale, but has no further input in the development of property. It is the RTM's role to decide whether or not to sell the property, and the town council role to make sure that everything we discussed is in writing. Town council has to approve the sale of the property. This is in the town charter. Representative Chase stated that there are 2 boats coming to Groton and that we need 2 and 3 bedroom units to accommodate these families with children. John Reiner stated that no single family homes are going to be on this property. It is zoned for multifamily. Paige Blanc stated that high demand for newer housing is greater than anticipated. We need more housing and more housing choice to accommodate all different types of demands. Housing study coming out this summer, and he encourages everyone to read it. Representative Chase asked, where could we build single-family homes? John Reiner responded that there's land for single-family housing, but a lot of the land has ledge. We will see more multifamily developments because of the cost for removal of ledge and rocks. Sometimes the numbers don't work for single-family developers. Representative Powers stated that to develop land is very expensive. Can't discuss what the developer's plans are because of confidentiality. Our chance to speak is when the plans go to planning and zoning. We have diverse housing in our town, and we are moving in the right direction. We are building our tax base. Representative Washington asked about the appraised value of the site. John Reiner said it is appraised at over $4 million, assuming the building was taken down. The property will sell for less because the developer will demolish existing buildings. Representative Flack stated that it is odd that the ability to sell the property because it is over $10,000 comes to the RTM, but the RTM does not know ultimately what the sale is for. The RTM is the fiscal arm of the town, but only able to give the green light to sell for an undisclosed amount to an undisclosed developer. RTM should have a bigger say. We don't know what is going to be sold for or who is going to buy it. It should come back to the RTM for approval of the sale price. A discussion pursued on this topic. Representative Forster stated, this property is a town asset. Is there no use for this property? Town Manager Burke responded that there is no use internally, and Parks and Recreation does not want to take in more parks. Park and Rec will need more staffing if they took on more parks. We do, however, need more parks on this side of town. Moderator Eben would like to have more RTM representation early on in the process. Some members of the committee present would like to see a change in the process. Town Manager Burke made a note of this request and will get back to us. No further discussion. Vote to approve the motion. Passed 3 in favor. Representatives Washington, Powers, and Chase. 2 opposed. Representative Forster and Flax. 4.3, 2021-252-2 FYE 2021 CIP Crystal Lake Road reconstruction. Representative Powers made a motion to authorize the allocation of $55,320 from the Capital Reserve Fund unassigned fund balance for FYE 2021 Crystal Lake reconstruction project and authorize the town manager to sign the second supplemental project authorization letter, seconded by Representative Flax. Discussion. Director of Public Works Greg Hanover told the committee that when the project started, the state was administrating the contract. Funding for the project was 80% from federal government, 10% from state, and 10% from local. The original cost of the project was $5 million. The town's 10% share was $500,000. During project, they ran into contaminated soil issues and other issues that increased the cost of the project. When the project was completed, the town project cost was $6,719,410. The town share now is $671,941. The town previously paid $616,621, but because of the increase in the cost of the project, we owe an additional $55,320. This added to what we already paid equals our 10% of the total cost. We don't have a CIP project for this, so Mr. Hanover is requesting to take money out of capital reserve. Representative Chase asked what was wrong with the road and how long for completion. Mr. Hanover stated that this is a major road leading to the gate of the submarine base. The road needed to be paved and widened and new road alignment by the front gate of subbase. Also, They also put a 10-foot wide bike and pedestrian trail on portion of Route 12. A new traffic signal was needed because the old one was constantly malfunctioning. The project started in 2011, 2012, and was completed a little over a year ago. No further discussion. Vote to approve motion passed unanimously. 4.4, 2021-263-2, approval of fourth quarter transfers for FYE 2021. Representative Flax made a motion to recommend transfers totaling $28,104 be transferred from contingency account number 1094 to the following general fund departments / function to the RTM for approval. Debt service, account number 107601-5450 for $13,104, and insurance and claims, account number 107006-5154 for $15,000. Seconded by Representative Chase. Discussion. The RTM does not have to approve the voter registration transfer of $9,000 because only transfers over $10,000 have to go to the RTM for approval. Director Landry stated that the town charter provides that the town can do fourth quarter transfers to cover unexpended expenditures throughout the year. The reason for debt service increase is the April 2020 school bonds came in higher than estimated in budget. Insurance and claims came in higher because there was a significant increase in unemployment claims during FYE 2020. No further discussion. Vote on motion passed unanimously. 4.5, 2021-295-2 FYE 2021 fourth quarter transfers. Representative Chase made a motion that transfers totaling $130,000 be transferred from contingency account 1094 to the following general fund departments / functions and referred to the RTM for approval. Contributions to other funds, revaluation fund, account 1073015230, seconded by Representative Flax. Discussion. During the budget process, Director Landry mentioned that she would have fourth quarter transfers. Director Landry told committee that the town has a couple of lawsuits that have incurred legal fees higher than anticipated this year. Need more money in revaluation fund to cover legal fees. Director Landry does not want this fund to run short. Vote on motion passed unanimously. Motion to adjourn was made by Representative Flax, seconded by Representative Chase. Vote on motion passed unanimously. Adjourned at 7:38 p.m. Thank you to everyone who attended this meeting. Minutes submitted by Chairperson Beverly Washington.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Commissioner Jones.
I hear a motion to approve the RTM Finance Committee meeting minutes made by Representative Washington, seconded by Representative Jones. Is there any discussion on those? All right, seeing no discussion on those minutes, all in favor of approving the minutes of the RTM Finance Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes 32 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions. So those minutes are approved. Thank you so much, Chair Washington. That was very detailed and helpful. Would you like to put a motion on the floor? Would someone like to put a motion on the floor for the resolution to authorize the sale of the former Groton Heights School?
Representative Rusk, so moved.
Second, Jacome.
I do believe we need to have the entire motion read. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
You can read the title and then the resolve.
Okay, Representative Rusk, would you please read the title and then the resolve, please, since it's your motion?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the right page. Do we know what page it's on?
4 of your packet.
Thank you. Nope.
Well, that's not right.
I don't believe that was in our packet.
Oh,
yeah,
try
I'm not finding
page
it.
8. Oh, I have it on mine.
Yeah, they're all of them
there
are
we
in the
go. I'm
back.
sorry.
They're in
It
the
was
back.
inside.
You got
Sorry,
page.
there's 2 page numbers on it, 4 and 8. So I.
No, it's page 12 on my packet.
So just the first resolution to authorize the sale of the former Groton Heights School and refer the sale to the RTM for approval.
Yes, and then read at the end of that,
Resolve.
There's a resolve that the
Resolved that the RTM hereby authorize the sale of the former Groton Heights School. I so move.
Second, Jacome.
that was moved and seconded by Representative Rusk and seconded by Representative Jacome. Thank you.
I'm
guys.
sorry, point of order. Is this about the Groton Heights School or about the Pleasant Valley School? I thought we were on Pleasant Valley.
It's Pleasant Valley.
Pleasant Valley, sorry.
That's why I wasn't finding Groton Heights. Sorry.
The page number 12 in your packet is the Pleasant Valley School property sale and referral.
Okay. Resolution to authorize the sale of and to recommend the sale of the former Pleasant Valley School to the RTM. Resolved that the town council hereby authorize the sale of the former Pleasant Valley School and hereby recommend the sale and the referral of the former Pleasant Valley School to the RTM for approval. I so move.
Thank you. That's been made. Motion has been made by Representative Rusk and seconded by Representative Jacome. Thank you, Representative Gauthier, for pointing that out. Is there discussion on this motion? Representative Gauthier?
Yes, thank you. I have a question for Mr. Rainier based on something he said during the Finance Committee. He had said that the school is already zoned for multifamily. Is that the case, or will it need to be zoned for multifamily?
Good evening, John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services. The property is already properly zoned for multifamily. No zone change or zoning map amendment is needed.
Okay, and what did the town consider doing with this as far as addressing the fact that we do not have any public parks on this side of town?
So we actually had conversations with our Parks and Recreation Department about the future use of this property. And although we are in negotiations or discussions with potential developers, one of the things that we do certainly want to see, the Parks and Rec director had indicated that in this area of town, there is a shortage of open space as well as trails and of parks. So we are working that into any project proposal that developers will be submitting to us. So that's something that is on the negotiating table that, you know, we heard everyone loud and clear with some of the other properties that we've been working with, and that this is something that's important.
Okay, thank you. And I guess my next question is, what was the Parks and Rec, how many staff did they say they would need in order to have this property be a public park or open space for town residents?
For open space, they didn't indicate any additional staff. This property is going to be privately owned, and any recreation, open space, trails, things along those lines would be privately owned, privately maintained, but working to get public access on those.
Through a conveyance or restricted deed or something like that?
That's what we're working on.
Okay, so I have kind of a process question. With previous school properties that got turned into town parks, there was community surveys done. Is there a reason that wasn't done for this property? In this neighborhood, I mean, we're already slated for several hundred units at William Seeley, which is less than a mile away. So I'm just wondering why this didn't go out to any kind of community comments.
So this property did go through the town council process of a public hearing to get input on the disposition of the property for sale. And we received feedback from the town's conservation commission that this is not, that this property should be developed, that it didn't have any great habitat value. They did have some recommendations of if there's some tree canopy cover that we could protect. We didn't receive any recommendations from the Parks and Rec Commission. John Burt, I'm not sure if you want to weigh in any more on that, or Paige Bronk.
Well, just the Parks and Rec Commission did review, and they did not find it. It was not something that they wanted to take management of, because it's always been the schools that hasn't been Parks and Rec. So the Parks and Rec Commission had no interest in it. I should mention there's another piece of property not far from there. It's got a lot of ledge and a lot of wetlands, but it's about 20 acres that has been offered as part of a subdivision to the town. Mark Berry and Deb Jones are actually going to walk it out of the, maybe it's 10 acres. I forget, but let's say 10 acres. Hopefully we'll find a chunk too that's nearby that will be able to be used at least as open space, something we don't have to though actively manage. I think that's the whole key is Parks and Rec don't have the staffing to mow and do that type of thing. But if it was just open space, that's something they could take, they're not really taking it on. That's something that could work for the town.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe my question wasn't clear, and I'd like to make one point. Yes, I was at that public hearing, and we had, including myself, members of this neighborhood speaking about how we need a park. But more specifically, my question was, the town hired a recreation consulting firm to put out a survey for members of the community about the Noank School property. Why was that not done for this neighborhood in this property? Why did it get selected to go immediately to development?
I'm not aware of a community survey that was done for the Noank School. John, is that something you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of course, most of the
I'm sorry, am I confusing it with the Mystic School?
With the Mystic Oral School, there was a community survey that was done regarding the future use of the Pratt building, which is a state-owned property, and looking at what the end use of that building could be if redeveloped regarding internal recreation space, theater space, flexible space, actually trying to get a feel for that 40,000 square foot building and how that would be utilized if it is redeveloped.
Okay, thank you. I think my last question is about the RFP selection committee that you have. Are there any current members of the RTM there or members of the neighborhood that live here on that committee?
There was a member of the RTM, Representative Sean Powers was on the RFP review committee for the Pleasant Valley School.
Is he currently there looking at the proposals that came in?
Yes, he was part of the committee reviewing the proposals as part of the interviews. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm confused because at the finance committee, you made it sound like you're still reviewing proposals. Is that not the case? Do you have a developer selected that you're negotiating with?
We have not taken a preferred developer to the town council yet.
Okay, so you're still meeting with developers. Is that including the RTM member?
The RTM member is still involved. It's still in negotiation. So we're still early enough in the process that we have not taken a preferred developer to the town council yet.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Moderator, can I just jump in because I do have his information regarding what's been done with past schools.
Thank you. Please.
Representative Gothier I will get the information for the whole RTM. But the Noank School, the fire district, the Noank Fire District was interested in getting hold of that property to. They had a lot of different ideas that were floated. So there was an informal not a document, but it was a petition that was circulated within the fire district of Noank. It didn't go out to the entire town. There were people that were upset about that at the time. So really the push was about 35 people coming to the council and demanding it be a park. So there's a long history on that. And then William Seeley School, that got a lot of community involvement from that district. And there was a large petition, over 150 people signed, wanting that school to remain a community active school. Well, a place that people could use for parks and rec is really what they were looking for with parks and so forth. So that there was a lot of involvement with that, much more, I would say, than with the Noank School. I have all that stuff. I can give it to you.
If I could comment just briefly, Paige Bronk, Economic and Community Development Manager. There is no formula per se regarding these properties. They're all unique in one form or another. We've talked about the Mystic Education Center, state-owned property. Also, its scale is very different. The Noank Gardens property, that went through an entirely different process, for better or worse. And then the input that was referenced by the town clerk, that came after actually the developer was introduced to the council, and also as a part of the public project unveiling, which we typically do for all of these projects. So when the public input came in on the Seeley School, that was much later in the process than where we're at this moment with Pleasant Valley. So it's kind of difficult to compare because they are all so unique. I think those are valid points that are made regarding the need for recreation. We do take that seriously. We are not yet in any final negotiations with a developer at this point, but I can basically attest that we do plan on trying to address open space and recreation at that property and beyond, because we know from multiple data sources that that neighborhood is deficient regarding that need. So that is something we are working on, but we are not there yet.
Representative Gauthier, you finished with your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So how does the town get more property in the future? Is that something they would have to purchase? That's the only way to acquire more property, is that correct?
I'm sorry, repeat that question?
The only way, so this property is currently under the stewardship of the town, is that correct? The town owns this land?
Correct.
And if we sell it, it's gone. It's not coming back to us. And really the only way to acquire land in the future for projects we want to do, it would be to buy it. Is that correct?
There's actually a couple other avenues. So for instance, our Gold Star Highway properties that we're selling, those were taken through tax foreclosure, but also I just mentioned the subdivision. Anytime a subdivision goes in, they have an option, correct me if I'm wrong, John and Paige, but they have an option of either donating land or donating funds in lieu of land. Is that right?
Correct.
So, like I said, we have an offer of 10 acres near this site.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to follow up on Representative Stevenson's question. With this project, because it's going into multi-family development, would there be a set aside for open space on this parcel once it puts in an application for development? 10%?
Subdivisions require a set aside for open space. Multifamily developments require recreation or other types of use on the property for the residents. Something that we are also working on, as indicated before, is to have some recreation and open space trails, et cetera, available to town residents outside of the owner, people that are renting within the property. So there is no required land set aside as part of multifamily housing.
And that subdivision that Mr. Burt referred to, is it 100 acres? So that 10 acres is set aside? I'm just unclear how big that subdivision is, why a developer would give 10 acres. How large is the subdivision?
It's pretty large, but I don't have the information with me.
And is it, you had indicated it was ledge, so that means it, is
Parts
it
of it.
adequate for recreation, or is it like, you know, developers are famous for setting aside the wetlands and other undevelopable portions of their land?
That's what we're still studying. However, that's not what we're pinning our hopes on. We are working hard to, the intent is to have some public access to the Pleasant Valley School.
That subdivision is approximately 14 lots. And again, one of the shortages that our Parks and Recreation Director had pointed out in this area is just even open space and trails in the area. The trails is something that we certainly need within the town.
I guess I was just unclear why the town sells property and then seeks to acquire open space when they could, like with the Gold Star Highway, which abuts open space, just retain that open space. And then you wouldn't have to purchase any additional open space because you'd have, say, 70 acres in that case. I'm just a little confused about the selling and the purchasing, but perhaps that's for a different issue that's already been done.
We're sort of getting into some of what we're actually negotiating there that we can't really go into detail on.
Thank you. Representative Powers?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm sorry for the delay. I just have a few questions for Director Reiner. John, what is our percentage? Is it 20% plus that we have in open space right now in the town? Do you know that number offhand?
It's approximately 21%.
Correct. As far as the district that we're discussing with the Pleasant Valley School, the adjacent properties around it are held by the federal government in the Navy, in their Navy-controlled housing. Isn't that correct? Isn't that one of our biggest problems here in this area for having a park?
Yeah, you know, one of the items that we've looked at a little bit with our Parks and Rec department is that there is a shortage of town park and recreation space, but there is a fair amount of federal government owned that is specifically for residents of the Belfort Beatty housing or people on the Navy base. So there's a disproportionate share of Parks and Rec land for certain people, but not for others. And that's something that we certainly want to work on moving forward in this area.
With Mary Morrison School being where it is, John, if that school is, you know, also put up, would that be a place where we might want to put open space or fields or some kind of trails? Because I know the area there's a lot of wetlands and there's a lot of low-lying areas from that part of what is it, Tollgate Road, but that's also abutted by both commercial property and the Navy property. Again, is that, you know, I don't see how we can acquire a park, because if you go further down Tollgate, we have the dog park there. What is it, the Cock Park? Then we also have the farm there. We have Haley Farm, which is up the street. And I know that we have bike trails through different parts of, I think it's off of Buddington Road there and 117, some mountain bike trails. So there is some stuff around us, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It's just not walking trails or sitting, you know, parks for people. I mean, that's, I live here for the last 20 plus years, and I mean, I'm abutted by nothing but Navy housing for the most part. You know, plus the town and the city is right over the bridge here on the other side of us. So I don't see how we can acquire more land or, you know, not do what we're doing here. I have another question, and then I'll let you go here. With the Merritt property that we used for the school, we're replacing that with more open space. Am I correct in my assumption of that?
Yes, that was replaced with other open space land.
All right. Thank you, John.
And this is John. Just to point out, Mary Morrison, the Board of Ed is keeping that just in case in case they ever need something again. So that one's not going to be developed. So any playgrounds or open space that is there will remain there. In terms of Sealy, just to remind people, John, I think at the end, There is public access to both walkways through there, the little playground, and is there a dog area too? I forget.
Yes, there will be a little dog park in the back too.
Yeah, so those were all negotiated to remain in the Sealy property.
I have one more question for Director Reiner. John, when we really wrote the planning and zoning books and stuff, what didn't we have, and I haven't read through the whole thing, but don't we have redevelopment and new development? Don't we have a certain percentage that's open space and certain percentages that are public access? Isn't that all part of the program that we're doing here with our new planning and zoning book?
In some of our new mixed use districts, we do require certain percentages of land to be used for public space. So that is something that as we get more redevelopment, we want to see more public space.
Thank you, John.
Representative Whitney?
Yes, thank you. I'm looking for help here and trying to understand. We just a couple of months ago authorized the option to sell the Colonel Ledyard School property, the former Colonel Ledyard School property. And at that point, the process has gone on for a while. There's a preferred developer identified, is much farther along. I guess my first question is, are we as an RTM body going to see this again at that stage? Or are we just doing that authorization of sale here, and that's the last time we see it? And if it's the latter, that we only are doing the authorization now, and it's the last time we see it, I don't feel we have enough information. And so my other question is, why can't we wait until there's a preferred developer and we actually see the details? Because for me, what I see a common thread is that often what gets built actually has less open space than many people would desire and is larger than many people would think would fit in an area. And so having the RTM more informed when they make a decision would be better. Thank you.
So I'll jump in, and maybe John Burt and or Paige Bronk will want to also answer this a little bit. The process we're dealing right now is for the disposition of the property. Does the town want to sell the property? The town council has not yet picked a preferred developer, has not yet negotiated a purchase and sales agreement, nor selected a preferred development pattern for the site. Those are all things that happen at another stage in the process. And, I think someone had asked at some point, how does this process work? I think Mr. Bronk had spoken about how this is ever an evolving process, and each one is always a little bit different. We're learning a little bit more as we go through all of these. It takes approximately 14 public meetings for us to get to the point where we've approved the disposition of a property in town before it even gets to the Planning and Zoning Commission for any type of site plan or planning type of approval. So we are also trying to find a way of how we can show that there's certainty that the town wants to sell the property and to give developers a certain level of comfort before they are investing a lot of money in a plan that the town actually wants to sell the property. So there's, we're trying to take feedback and input from the council, from the community, as well as from members of the RTM through our processes. And when we're bringing this to you, we've heard people loud and clear about the need for some open space and recreation in this area. Those are things that we want to make sure get incorporated into any project that happens here. And that's something that the town council will also have the ability to do and set once a preferred developer is selected and as part of the negotiation of the purchase and sales agreement for the property. I don't know, John or Paige, if there's anything else you want to weigh in on that.
No comment from me. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, that's very accurate. And I think I can send out some more information about our process to the RTM. And I did mention at Finance Committee that the council is going to be for future projects looking at their process. And if the RTM has an idea that something they might want to change, they can certainly bring it up at that time. I would encourage the RTM to not try to change our process in the middle of a sale right now. And I do believe in this process. One thing to mention is how much money is how far along is the developer going to go without knowing the land's actually for sale? I think, that I really do find that it's a legislative process for the town council, whereas this is solely, do we want to sell the land regardless? Do we want to keep it or do we want to sell it, period? Because who's going to continue on without knowing if it's for sale? But certainly we don't want to change gear in the middle of this and jeopardize what's likely to be a great project because all the bids look good. That's all I have to say.
I would like to recognize Representative Flax really quickly because he was chair of the NOAC School Reuse Task Force, and I think he might have some good light to shed on this.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just quickly, the town clerk had said there was no survey done, and the Reuse Task Force met about 12 times and did do a public survey available to the whole town and had a number of responses, not just from NOAC, but the whole town. I will tell you that the overwhelming response was to keep it open space to those who did respond to it. But there was a town survey done. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Flax, for giving us a bit of history on that. Representative Whitney, were you done?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Foster.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. To be honest, this almost just feels like it's ceremonial. Like we're not even involved in the process at all. Just to check off a box that, yeah, we meet the town charter and that the R.T.M approved the sale, but yet we don't even know the sale price or any information in regards to the sale itself, other than the fact that we're going to say, yep, it's okay to sell the property. So I'd like to make a motion to table this until more information is available to this body.
Seconded, Gothier.
I would ask Representative Foster to phrase his motion as a postponement to a definite time and place. Tabling is problematic.
Okay, sorry. I amend my motion to that language. Thank you.
Seconded, Representative Gothier.
So we have a motion to postpone this. I'm not sure when, would you want to take it up again at our July meeting? Is that correct, Representative Foster, or August? Or did you have I mean, I guess you want to wait until there's.
After all this, we're going to table it.
I think you want to wait till the information is here. Madam Clerk, could you give us some insight into if we're going to postpone this? My understanding is it has to be postponed to a specific meeting date.
Well, this is a new ground for everyone, but when you do make a motion to postpone to a certain date, you have the date in mind. Or if it's as it was stated from Representative Foster, until a specific piece of information is known, if that's what his intention was.
Yes, seemed like it. So would that be a table?
Maybe he can speak to that again. If his intention is postpone until what specific piece of information does he require, and then then you could.
So we have a sale price.
Call a special meeting.
Yeah, postpone until we have a sale price.
Okay, thank you. And there's a motion on the floor made by Representative Foster to postpone the item, the motion that we have before us until we have a specific sale price, then more information that we can debate this. And that's been seconded by Representative Gothier. Let's see, sorry. So this is debatable. And is there any feedback on this motion? Representative Jones?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. So my question would be to either Mr. Reiner or Mr. Braun. Can they just talk a little bit about what a motion like this would do to the process? Does it mess it up? Is it okay? Is it the kind of thing that we can move forward? Just give us a little information on what something like this will do to your abilities to get developers to participate in this project.
I can try to address that. I think that it certainly would delay the process. As I mentioned before, we're attempting to advance. We're trying to get to a preferred developer. That's the end goal. We're not there yet. I had mentioned previously, also last night, with at the COW meeting, this is not a bid. It's commonly referred to as a bid. It's not a bid. It's a request for proposal. And with that, there are a number of criteria that the committee considers. The experience of the developer, the ability to finance, ability to execute, perform. When all of those criteria are evaluated and we go through a negotiated process, which also includes decision-making, it's not just about the number. So that is problematic, in my opinion, that there would be a delay based on the number. I will say, I think the number is going to be fairly significant, but that's only a part of the entire back and forth. It would make it quite cumbersome the more bodies are added to a discussion. I think that would add significant delay to the process.
Okay.
Paige, could we, obviously it's not a bid, but could we give sort of the range of the kind of the two prominent proposals?
Yeah.
Which is dependent on, there's a lot of things that can go into that, but they're fairly similar.
Sure. This is not a final number. And John already mentioned that the property is zoned for multifamily. We would like to think that we're getting more traction with development interest as a result of our marketing that we've been doing over the past few years. And we are looking at something probably in the $2 million range. Again, there's going to be a lot of back and forth where we say we want X, Y, and Z, and they say, oh, okay, well, it might cost you. There's going to be that type of back and forth. But this is a significant number. And we have significant proposals that have been submitted. And to be honest, the developers have been a little confused as to how Groton addresses their process. Not saying that it's a wrong process, but it's longer than what they're accustomed to. So time is really the enemy. And we want to get this right. I'm not advocating for shortcuts, but the perception is it's already too long. Adding much more time certainly is not beneficial to the process.
And now you know the use and the approximate price. Really, all that's left is mostly the negotiations on the public access.
So if I just understand what's going on here, the original resolution just said for the town that it can move forward because, yes, the town agrees that we're going to sell this property. And then the motion that's on the floor is sort of putting more information on top of it about that resolution. And
the motion on the floor is to postpone this motion, the vote on this motion until we have a specific sale price.
There's a specific, you have a pretty close general sales price now.
So I'm wondering if the numbers that Mr. Bronk just put forward would be the number. That could be the number, or
it'd be very likely close, yeah, unless there's something really unusual happens.
So we might actually have that answer right now. So, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I strongly recommend against postponing in the middle of a process. It really is a legislative process for the actual negotiation for the sale. We can't have a ton of people, as mentioned earlier, involved in the negotiation. You know the use, the generalities. Beyond that is truly for the town council. The council recommended it without a preferred developer. Just generally, we should sell it. That's what the recommendation from the town council is to the RTM. That is what the RTM should be discussing.
But we have a different motion on the floor, Mr. Burt, but thank you. Representative Gauthier?
Sorry, it was raised by mistake.
Okay. Representative Rusk.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. This is Representative Jason Rusk. I hope I'm not the only one thinking this way, but I'm just offended by the whole prospect that we've had town manager and Mr. Bronk both say that they're annoyed that there are so many people that want to be part of this process.
Yes.
Isn't that the point of the RTM? This is the body with the most representation. So why would we be relegated to a rubber stamp early on in the process? Why would we accept that as our role? I do not.
May I also speak since we're both under one hand?
Sure. Representative other J. Rusk.
So my biggest concern is during the William Seeley School process, we heard from a lot of neighbors who stated their concern that there was limited open space in this neighborhood. And yes, we do have 21% of open space in Groton, but I think it is very, very limited in this area. And for us to have a school property and once again sell it, and when we ask about open spaces, the quote was, "I'm hoping that we have some access to the Pleasant Valley School." Well, we don't know that yet. And then we're talking about 10 acres of property that are on ledge. And my fear that has already been stated here earlier is that those 10 acres are going to be non-usable space. So we owe this neighborhood, I think, a little bit more than what we're giving them right now. I'm also offended by the more bodies added to the discussion, because that's really our role. So there are 40 of us from every neighborhood representing all of our constituents. And it's an important discussion to talk about open space and know exactly what we're voting on in selling some of our potential open space. Thank you.
I do want to like to say there's a difference between negotiations and input and discussions. What I'm talking about is negotiations, actually, going back and forth with the developer. That's my fear, is that we're going to end up going through a whole process and then have it sent back, which would definitely kill the deal. But totally two different things to my mind.
Thank you. Representative Washington.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want to say I agree with Representative Jill Rusk and Jason Rusk, and I represent District 2. And I was watching the City Council meeting on Monday night, and they were discussing the sale of a piece of property in Groton Estates that Groton Estates wanted to buy to build a fitness center and a business center. And some of the people were concerned that there was not open space in that area for the kids to play in. And the city council voted the sale down. I think it was 4-2. So I'm not comfortable with this, and I'm probably going to vote against the sale of this property. I don't think we should be rubber stamping everything, and I think we should get more information.
Thank you. Representative Fortner.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I can't disagree with my fellow representatives anymore. The town council was tasked with getting unused school off of the tax rolls, and that's what they're trying to do with the extremely well-informed individuals that are employed by this town. I am very concerned that the challenges that the Mystic Oral School development is bringing forth are now getting mixed up with this. They're two separate things. And I know we've had a lot of closed schools sitting on our tax rolls. I would like them off. So I will be voting against this. I'd like to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Whitney.
Thank you. I wonder if we could just first maybe postpone for a couple of months or something like that, or rather than the sale price, I'd be more interested in knowing who the preferred developer is, because at that point, then specifics should be laid out. And for me, it's the open space and the nature of what that is recreationally and otherwise that's important. And I think that's important to the town and that area of the town too.
Thank you. Representative Cassieri?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just would like to know if there are any legal ramifications for postponing this, and are we potentially opening ourselves up to any liability?
Honestly, I'd have to have the attorney review. He had met with the council on another project recently. What you can't do is deviate from any process in the RFP that's been laid out, and we'd have to look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Powers?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just so that people can maybe understand the process a little bit better, I don't know if I'm going to explain it very well or not, but when you enter into the purchase and sales agreements, which is what you're asking for a price. I think the price was given as an appraisal of the property at about $4 million minus the remediation of the school and any kind of hazards that have to be taken off of the property. So when you're looking for a sale price of the property, you have to understand that all of these properties were asked to be taken through our plan of conservation and development and all of the JLIS study. We have specific things that we should follow. This is surplus property. We have a school to pay for. There's many people that sit on this RTM with me that worry about the costs and what we're spending. We're looking to do something that's good for the community and keeps all of our taxes at a much lower rate. I wish, and I honestly wish I could disclose all of the different things that I was able to learn through being on this committee. Each and every one of us, and the reason I was asked, because it's right out my back door and it's in our district, okay? And all I can say is that the proposals that have been put before us are all really good proposals. Now, if we want open space, we just built a school on 120 acres of open space that was used for recreational use. And we did that because we did the right thing. The bonding was right, the school was needed, the kids developed much better, higher learning and education. So to sit there and to delay this process is exactly what Paige talked about. Developers walk away. They don't want all of the legislation that goes into it because it's a whole nother process. If they're picked as the preferred developer, then you go to a contract, then you have a purchase and sales agreement. Then you find out what the value and what we're selling the property for. In the meantime, it's all a moot point and you can't have an answer to that. I don't think any of us like the idea that we're not part of the process. I don't think any of us don't want to be a part of the process, but we have a formula, and that's why we go to planning and zoning. That's why we go to inlands and wetlands, and that's why we have the different governing bodies that we have in our town. If we don't like the proposal, I'm sure Paige can tell you how many preferred developers have walked away from the town of Groton. So those are all things that we need to consider. I won't be voting for anything other than moving the proposal forward. So thank you for your time, and I hope I explained the best I could. And like I said, I would, if we have other surplus property, get on the committee, ask to be on it so that you know what's going on there and you can have a much better idea of what confidentiality, non-disclosure is and understanding what's coming to our town.
Thank you. I would like to ask, there is a school reuse task force. Were they involved in turning this property over to development without communicating with the neighborhood? Mr. Burt, do you know?
That again?
The school reuse task force, were they involved in the process?
Town surplus, yeah, town-owned property, yeah. No, they reach out to Planning Commission, Parks and like any of the committees and bodies that are out there that have a say. Again, this is, they're looking generally at the say whether it's worth selling or not. There's a ton of time for public input all along the way. besides all the process the council will go through, there's also, of course, Planning and Zoning Commission will go through a process. There'll be lots of opportunities for public input. Things can alter along the way.
I understand that. I'm just wondering if the school reuse task force was involved in this. That's my question.
Yeah, they were.
They were, and the minutes are online of those meetings?
Are you talking about ours? You know, we have a property reuse task force. I don't know if you're talking about ours, or do the school have something separate?
No, I think there was a town one. I was involved.
Yeah, that's us. That's the staff. Yeah, that's the staff.
No, there's a school reuse task force, which Representative Flax had mentioned earlier. That's what she's referring to.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, Representative Baker?
Yes, I've been sitting here listening to these discussions going on about selling the property and everything. I would like to see us go forward with selling this property. We have to trust in the people that are involved in the negotiations and trust that they will follow the rules and regulations that have been laid down, like how much open space has to be for every amount of property. I think we have to look also at, yes, open space is very nice, but so is taxable property in this town. And I think we have to be honest with the people who would like to start the taxable property. I think there are plenty of people who are going to look after what's going on and make sure that all the rules and regulations are followed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just to reorient us, we're debating a motion to postpone the vote on this. We're not debating selling the property at this point.
I would not postpone the vote.
Okay. Representative Gauthier?
Yes, thank you. This hand raise was intentional. First, I'd like to thank the members that are speaking up for my neighborhood, even though they don't live here, and for all the families here. And I appreciate Representative Jill Rusk bringing up all the families that came out for the William Seeley discussion, because they had the same concerns I do. And I'd really like to paraphrase something that the town manager said in one of his budget messages in the CAFR, because it stood out to me among all of these discussions about developments and growing the grand list. He said, growing the grand list, and like I said, this is a paraphrase, growing the grand list developments are not going to be enough to prevent tax increases. Okay, growing the tax base is not the only thing that we as elected officials are here for on this body. We are proportionally representative of the town, unlike the town council, and communities are more than just the taxes that are coming out of the residents. If we are community building, we have to think about the spaces that we are living in, and we are growing and creating for ourselves, our neighbors, our families, and people visiting the town. If we are just going to stack up a bunch of developments in one side of town because it doesn't have the privilege of being affluent, that's really awful. And I am so disheartened that that's the attitude that I am sensing coming out of some quarters. So I really do appreciate the motion being put forward that we will postpone, because I don't know if we should sell this property, because I don't know exactly what we're going to be getting out of it as a neighborhood. Okay, it is not safe for me to walk my 2-year-old son to Mary Morrison down Tollgate. That's not a safe road. I can't go to Cop Park with my son. I have to drive miles away out of my neighborhood. I have to leave my neighborhood to find safe family recreation space. And I don't think that that's fair that this part of town consistently is subject to that. So I really would appreciate more time to learn more about the development. Specifically, I'd like to know what the town is doing to make sure that there is in writing, legally contracted writing, that we will have public space, we will have public access. After the William Seeley development hearing, I spoke to the developers, I spoke to the civil engineers, I spoke to their lawyer because I actually know them professionally. And they, at the time, I'm so positive that things have probably changed, and I'm very happy to hear that. But at the time, they said that they weren't certain that the dog park was going to be public. They weren't certain that the trails were all going to be public. I would really like to see something in writing that my neighborhood is going to be protected before I decide whether or not I can honestly, as their elected representative, vote to sell the property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to mention, you won't really have anything in writing until we're pretty much done with the process. I mean, that's what we're getting at. Town council has also said they want open space to be part of this. That's the direction from the town council. And they're the ones that will ultimately be charged with ensuring that. But I would like to say, remind people that it's not just this side of town, Mystic Education Center. To suggest staff would look at one part of town versus another, that is a terrible thing to say. And I do take offense at that.
Representative Flax.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. It's an interesting discussion, and I appreciate the RTM taking it up as in depth as they have. When we were reading in the Finance Committee, that was, we had the same kind of discussion, and I'm glad that it's resonating. I do think that there's, I was a person who brought it up in the committee meeting, and I do believe that the procedures that are going on in the town do need to change, that the RTM, for better or for worse, is the financial arm and representation of the town and needs to have a say in a deeper in the process of what happens with the property. But I will say that to the town manager's point, trying to change it in the middle of a negotiation is difficult. And so I would support it going forward with the trust of the town and the town personnel. But I wouldn't do it again. And I think as these town properties start coming, as they continue to be sold, that the RTM should have a say more than just rubber stamping that it's a sale that's more than $10,000. So, like I said, I think that there's been a lot of good points brought up tonight, and I don't think that anybody disagrees that the council prior to this council, when I was on it, we were directing the town to sell these properties, and they should be sold, and the town demanded they be sold. But it doesn't mean that the community shouldn't have a say in what's going on in the sales, not from a negotiation standpoint, although ultimately could affect that, but just in what's being done in their neighborhood. So, like I said, I think out of respect for the town personnel and manager, that I would not support rejecting this, but moving forward, that the gauntlet be put down. That I would. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Flax. But I do want to just reassert that by voting for this option, you are not rejecting it. This is a motion to postpone that vote. So just to remind us what we're debating. Representative Casper.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I cannot support delaying this motion. I don't think there's anything that's really going to be gained by doing that, and much to be lost. It was, in the past, it was to sell the town properties, that holding on to them usually was detrimental because we never put the money that was needed to maintain them, and they just deteriorated. And I think at this point, we should just agree that we're going to sell the property and move on from there.
Thank you. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yeah.
We can't hear you. If you could talk a little louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yeah, so I have been thinking about this, and this is not, I don't think this is comparable to building the school and using up that land. We're talking about taking public lands that are entrusted to the town on the whole to do with what the people want. And we're talking about selling them transactionally to an organization that is going to use those resources, use that land to enrich themselves and give back to town a small portion in taxes, of course. But this is not comparable to using the land for a park. This is taking land that we all collectively own in some portion and giving it to another entity that they will then profit off of. So I think we should be very cautious about what we do. And I think I agree with some people that I probably wouldn't normally agree with on other things, that this process should be painful. This process should be drawn out. And this process, we should put as many roadblocks as we can, because this is a one-time deal, removing something from the public commons and giving it to another organization. So I would probably at this point support not selling it at all, but I'll settle for a delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Rusk?
Yes, thank you. So I'm just want to compare this a little bit. Last month, we voted to sell the the Groton Heights School. The Groton Heights School, we knew who the preferred or who the buyer is. We know what their plan is. We knew everything about this, and it's been in the works. I get it for a long time. But in comparison, you're asking us to do the exact same thing with property that we know nothing about the developer. We know really nothing about what their plan is. We kind of suddenly get this information and are expected to vote on it with no real information. And I just find that to be a bit insulting to our body. And I'm going to support the delay. I'm hoping that we can get more information and that I can support this in the future, because I agree we need to have more development in our area. And maybe this is the right project, but I just don't feel like as an RTM member, we have enough information to vote on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Bailey?
Thank you very much. Yes, just for everybody to keep in mind, with the development over here, Pleasant Valley, the northern section of the continuing road, because after you get on Route 12, if you take Crystal Lake up or even Gunjewamp and make a left, you're on Pleasant Valley Road. And there was a development that was sold basically through a private deal, actually land. And there's already 170 some odd plus units over there. Most of it seems to be built already. And they're still working on construction, but just realize as a whole that there are other things that are already being developed over here that I just would like you to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. I did just want to follow up on Representative Rusk, and just, with the different processes that have been followed, it was probably 2 years ago, we were meeting in person. In the old days when our RTM could meet in person, where we were asked to vote on the sale of the Mystic Oral School, even, or something along that line. And at that point, that development was a mere shell of what it has ballooned to be at 931 units. So, I do feel that more information really makes the RTM able to make an educated decision regarding the disposition of town resources, which is what we're charged in section 9.6 of the charter to do. This is not a rubber stamp. This is a thoughtful consideration of town resources. And so I understand that these processes are different with each school, but the charter does not say we have to vote at the beginning and not at the end. It does not say we have to vote without any information. So that's fairly clear here. But I see that Mr. Bronk has his hand up. Did you want to speak?
Thank you very much. I do have a comment, but I wanted to comment on something that was just mentioned. I don't believe the RTM weighed in on the Mystic Education Center, given that that's state property. That's very different than dealing with town properties, given that the agreements between the state and the developer for the sale of the property, but that's a side point. I just want to make one comment regarding housing. Open space is important to Groton, that's a fact, but so is housing. We are in the midst of finalizing a couple housing studies that should be available this summer. And we've always talked about, we've come to the RTM and talked about the issue regarding 80% of our workforce is commuting. And my sense is that although people understand that, they don't understand how detrimental that is to Groton. All this money is flowing out of Groton. Why? Because people don't live here. They make a great income and they spend it elsewhere because we don't have the right housing product. That is the answer. And the two studies that are coming out this summer are going to point to that. And honestly, the problem is larger than we originally envisioned. And I'm not saying this to try to expedite things, but housing, the lack of appropriate housing product in Groton right now is a real problem. And we're attempting to satisfy that. And the zoning for this property and other properties in town are appropriately addressing, at least trying to tee up opportunities for the right type of housing to come to town. So I would say that housing and open space are both important components. I'm just requesting that housing not be viewed as some sort of second-rate use, and that we're merely giving the property away to a developer to make lots of money. No, we're trying to forge partnerships so that we can bring in the investment and attract the right type of housing developers to meet a critical need in this community. So I would like to leave that on the floor for consideration.
Thank you. And Ms. Representative Stevenson, did you have your hand up, or is that a remainder from us?
I just would like to clarify and just point out, and this is going to sound probably really crazy.
Speak louder.
I'm just going to point something out. This is probably sound really crazy, but we don't actually need private developers to build houses. We could just do that. We have the land. Thank you.
Who would build it?
This might sound crazy. We could do it. Groton could do it. You don't solve homelessness by building luxury apartments. Part of the reason why people aren't living in Groton is because they want to buy houses, and most of the property in Groton City is rentals. I mean, you're talking about these housing problems, and you think just building all these units is the solution, but I reject that, because I work at these large employers of employees. And I can tell you they're moving to places like Salem and Colchester because they can actually get houses there. We building these luxury apartments is not what Groton needs. We need people in houses. And if the space is limited and you're concerned about housing, that's something that, that in theory, the town could do, couldn't we? Could we not use our land to put people in houses and have it be town owned? Is that impossible?
I think anything's possible. And I think that we need to think outside the box to deal with this critical issue. I am not a housing expert. I know enough to speak of it. I think I would simply encourage people to be engaged when these two studies come out, when housing experts talk about the needs. I think it's going to be educating for all of us.
I would just like to I'd just be curious to know who these housing studies are really benefiting, because if these people these studies are for the benefit of private conglomerations looking to make money on rent, then of course they're going to say that's what we need. Thank you.
One of the documents is an affordable housing plan that is actually built on a strong foundation of actual financial data. And then the second study addresses more market rate, because we knew there was a demand for market rate in the community, but honestly, we didn't know how much demand over a longer period of time, let's say 5 years, et cetera. So the objective was to have that study be done. It's not paid by a developer. It's paid for by state and local funding to try to get those answers. So I think that the information that will come out this summer will be probably the best information we've seen in certainly over a decade.
All right, I'd just like to remind us that we have two motions on the floor. The motion that we're going to be voting on shortly is a motion to postpone the first one till we have more information. I do see Representative Gauthier wishes to speak for her second time.
Yes, thank you. And I'll try to make it brief so we can move on with this. My husband and I are the mythical millennials that a lot of these developments and studies look at. We work here in Groton, both of us. We both own a home, we own a home here. My husband works at EB on the South Yard Assembly Project. The neighborhoods we want to live in are ones with spaces for our families so we can grow and stay in Groton. We weren't interested in renting in Groton. We want to own and build in Groton. And if the only spaces that we can afford don't have any recreational space, like we don't drink really, we don't want to go out and shop all the time. I want to play with my son and my dog and my husband in a park. And if I can't do that conveniently, then yeah, I'm going to look at other towns, if I'm just being honest. So I love all the data. I really respect all the work that staff puts into this because they put so much work into it. But once again, I'd like to reiterate, the spaces we build for the people living here are just as important as the tax dollars that we could conceivably get. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. For the first time, I'm on the fence about something. I either know yes or no about something, but I'm so on the fence about this now, about whether to postpone or not. So, Mr. Burt, do we need a whole process change? My problem is, and I think I've heard other people talk about this, is we're going to vote tonight. We could vote tonight and say, yes, sell this property. And then we are totally out of this whole process. We know nothing except what we may hear from the town council or the newspaper or whatever. Is that true?
Well, there's not a decision that has to be made by the RTM, but again, there's a lot of chances for every member to weigh in during the multitude of public process meetings that will go on.
But how much weight would that carry, though? Well, as an individual and not as a body?
I think that it would certainly weigh with the council. Again, the council seems to have the same goals as the RTM, but they agreed to sell the property. They wanted to sell it. That's part of their process to first decide, do we want to sell it before you try to go further on down the road and find a developer so you're not wasting their time.
So I understand the process. I mean, we're just voting to say, yes, sell it. And then nothing else has been done yet for it. I get that. But, you know, and I agree with Representative Gauthier. I can't imagine that every single person that works at EB wants to rent an apartment. And I've said this for a while. You have to be careful of how much rental property you have in a town. So I'm so on the fence about this, whether to vote for the postponement or not. How is that gonna upset this process if we postpone?
I'm not sure how far along we'll be able to go with the negotiations until there's a decision to sell. We'll just have to see.
So the RFP's been gone out, correct?
Yes.
And you have the applications in. So you do that before you even know whether you can sell the property or not. Isn't that like the cart before the horse type thing? Or no?
Well, again, you know, I've said that before, and then now we're talking about even putting it further off. But
well, I'm saying I think you should find out if we want to sell it before the RFP goes out.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. And again, the direction always has been to try to promote development. The council guides us on where they want open space, and I think we've had good results, and I believe in the process.
And this is John Reiner. That's exactly what we're trying to do with this process, to actually get the understanding of whether or not, before we picked a preferred developer, before we brought that public, to determine if the community wanted to sell the property. And that's why we're bringing this now before you.
Thank you. Or you just can have another question, Representative Chase? Sorry.
Well, no, I'm done. Thank you.
Representative Richards?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I wanted to just say that I see a lot of valid points kind of on both sides. I'm a little bit on the fence, like Representative Chase as well. But what is a concern is, and this was brought up, that we recently approved the Groton Heights sale under a very different situation. And I was hoping that the town manager or someone from economic development could please explain why this is such a different process and a different amount of information that we have between these two schools.
I can't give a linear response on that, but my first thought that comes to mind, the public input that occurred for Groton Heights, it occurred after Thayer Mahan was found, and the developer, Thayer Mahan, they conducted their public input to talk with the neighborhood. They had at least one, maybe two meetings at the Bill Memorial Library and had individuals come to their business. So a lot of that real give and take occurs after the council has been made aware of the project. So I think in this case, in the case of the Groton Heights, yes, it came to the RTM later. I don't necessarily think that that was planned, though, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that just happened that way, whereas this happened slightly differently. But that wasn't something that we necessarily intended.
And I will say, just from my own perspective, early on, when I was hired, I was told the major goal is to get these properties sold. I believe that's why the former council brought on the management staff and planning. Early on, there really was no question that people wanted to sell. I think it's become not as concrete, and so we can only go so far down the process without knowing for sure that you want to sell.
I'm not sure if that last comment explains why there's a difference between the two schools in particular. I do understand that there has been a desire to sell these properties, and I do support selling the property. I also understand and feel that it is difficult to so openly as in not much for stipulations, approve that sale. Thank you.
Representative Richards, you have more questions?
No, all set. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Representative Jean Shinbrat?
I would say, though, that just to add that the Groton Heights is a little different because it was actually a city-town process. Equally, it was a much different animal, and it had more complications with the library property, and it was just a much different animal than this.
Representative Jean Shinbrat?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. One of the things I think that's kind of been lost in the discussion is the neighborhood schools provided a neighborhood green belt and a neighborhood playground to the surrounding communities. And as we've gotten rid of the neighborhood schools, the neighborhood playgrounds have disappeared. I had thought, apparently wrongly, that the playground at one of the two schools would be saved, much as it was when Mystic Academy was sold and Academy Point bought the piece of property, well, turned it into Academy Point. And the playground and some open space was annexed off. Can't that happen with these properties? At least one of the two, so that there would be some salvage of a playground and a small piece of green, so that that part of town would have something and we could still sell the properties. It's for anybody.
I would just say, again, the town, I don't see as it is, the playground has been removed from this property. There's not playground equipment. It's my understanding it was moved over to the community center. But the whole thing is the town council have said they will require open space. So that is going to be part of the directive. There will be some sort of open space or pathways or whatever it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Washington, I believe this would, would you like to speak? I think this
Yeah,
is your
this-
second time, sorry.
Yeah, this will be my last time. And that was a question that was asked at the Finance Committee. Can a portion of this property not be sold so we could keep it for recreational usage? But that was asked at the Finance Committee also.
Again, we can't go into negotiations. I can probably tell you that that's been discussed. But again, even though you vote to sell the property, doesn't mean we will sell all the property. And there's some more going on with properties in that area. But again, you could vote it, but as we negotiate, things evolve, and we could say, okay, we're only going to sell you X amount of it. That is something that could happen. However, I believe we need more leverage and flexibility in the negotiation process.
So you're saying, Mr. Burke, that that's something that can happen? So you can actually make that happen and say, instead of selling, I'm making this up, 17 acres, we'll only sell 10?
I mean, it could happen. Again, it's all part of the negotiations. So voting to sell the property, you're saying, yes, we do want to sell property. However, if we negotiate something and it makes sense to keep a piece back, that's what, and the council agrees, that's what would happen.
All right, I just want to say what we're debating right now is postponing this until we have more information to make that decision. Madam Clerk?
Well, I just remembered the RTM. Well, all this information is very, very good for the RTM to discuss, but remember Groton Heights, excuse me, not Groton Heights, Colonel Ledyard, which is in the city. The town had given it to the city to build a Parks and Rec or a police building, whatever they were going to do with it, and they decided not to, and they gave it back to the town. Well, the RTM recently approved a sale of it, and at that meeting, the RTM meeting, the developer was here on the Zoom call and answered questions and actually, talked to, I think it was Rep. Stevenson had said that it was important to have some trees left there. And anyway, but I guess you're right, Mr. Manager. There, you can have all sorts of different types of proposals. The bottom line, the RTM has to decide whether to sell it or not, and that's the end of it. So postponing it, if you need more information, I suppose you'll get it.
All right, so I see no more hands up for the first time in a long time. So we do have a motion on the floor to postpone this motion to sell this property. Sorry, I have so much stuff open. To sell, motion to postpone the motion, which would authorize the sale of the former Pleasant Valley School to the RTM. Sorry.
It was to postpone until we have a sale price is what I have written down.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think we probably need a roll call vote on this.
Yeah, that's what I'm all ready. Okay, so you'll either vote yes, no, or abstention?
This is a simple majority needed, just so
Yes,
you
it
know.
is. That's right. Representative Adams?
Abstain.
Bailey?
Yes.
Baker?
No.
Burrell?
No.
Casper?
No.
Cassieri?
No.
Chase?
Abstain.
Crockett Hubbard?
No.
Dean Shinbrot?
Abstain.
Fitzgerald?
No.
Blacks?
No.
Fortner?
No.
Foster?
Yes.
Lauren Gothier?
Yes, and David Gothier is here too.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, David, thank you. Gustafson?
Abstain.
Hanscom?
No.
Jacome?
No.
Jones?
No.
Perry,
No.
Powers, Kristen,
No.
Powers, Sean,
No.
Pacino,
No.
Ray, you're not here, right?
I think you
Okay.
said she left.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
So we're
Richards,
down to 31, I believe, right?
32. Richards,
No.
Jason Rusk,
Yes.
okay. 5. Jill Rusk,
Yes.
Barkley,
No.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Wells,
No.
Whitney,
Yes.
Evan.
Yes.
Did I forget anyone? Okay, I have 10 in favor, 18 opposed, and 4 abstentions.
That motion fails, and we go to the first motion on the floor, which was made by Representative Rusk and seconded by Representative Jacome, which is to authorize, sorry, I keep being on the wrong page somehow. Authorize the sale and recommend the sale of the former Pleasant Valley School. So do we want to do another roll call vote?
That's up to you.
But we can try it without, I guess.
Okay.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 No.
All right, you gotta wait. So let's do any opposed? Let me try
No,
that.
Gothier, Lauren.
Opposed, Foster.
Opposed.
Opposed.
Bailey opposed.
Ace.
Whitney opposed.
Dean Shambrad opposed.
Maybe we could do the raise hand.
Let's just do a
I
roll
think we
call
should
vote.
do a roll call vote if that's okay. I think that might have more clarity.
Then I'll have it perfectly. Okay. Adams?
Yes.
I gotta do Y. That's the wrong ones. Okay. Bailey?
No.
Baker?
Yes.
Burrell?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Thierry?
Yes.
Chase?
No.
Crockett Hubbard?
Yes.
Dean Shinbrut?
No.
Gerald?
Yes.
Lax?
Yes.
Fortner?
Yes.
Foster?
No.
Oops. David Gothier?
No.
Lauren Gothier?
No.
Gustafson?
No.
Justice? Okay, thank you. Anscombe?
Yes.
Jacome?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Kristen Powers?
Yes.
John Powers?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Jason Rusk?
No.
Jill Rusk?
Abstain.
Barkley?
Yes.
Stevenson?
No.
Washington?
Abstain.
Wells?
Wells?
Representative Wells?
Yes.
Whitney?
No.
Evan?
Abstain.
I have 19 yes, 10 no, and 3 abstentions.
That motion passes. Thank you. We'll go, I realize that my I had the pages folded wrong. So I believe our next item that we might have a motion for is the wayfinding signage.
Yeah,
Chair-
that was
Chair Washington, if you would like to give us a motion, or any other member for that matter.
Point of order, it's after 10 o'clock.
Well, it's not a budget meeting. That's only applies to budget meetings?
I stand corrected, sorry.
Okay. Resolution authorizing the allocation of $40,000 of capital reserve fund unassigned fund balance for a FYE 2021 capital reserve fund project entitled Mystic Coastal Access Wayfinding Signage. Resolved that an allocation of $40,000 from the capital reserve fund unassigned fund balance is approved for a FYE 2021 Planning and Economic Development Project 8G Mystic Coastal Access Wayfinding Sign, and that the town council hereby authorizes the town manager to accept the DEEP allocation and sign any required documents to receive said allocation, and that RTM approves that motion. That allocation.
Second, Adams.
So we have a motion on the floor to authorize the allocation of $40,000 of capital reserve fund unassigned fund balance for the FYE Capital Reserve Fund project entitled Mystic Coastal Access Wayfinding Signage, made by Representative Washington, seconded by Representative Adams. And is there any discussion on this? Any questions? I see that Kristen Powers, Representative Kay Powers, has left the meeting, and Representative Flax has also left the meeting. And I don't see any hands raised. So no questions. All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention, Gothier Lorne.
Thank you. I think this motion passes. I'm not sure of our number though. Are we at 30?
30, yes. 29, yes.
29 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Thank you. The next item is the resolution for the Crystal Lake Road reconstruction of the $55,000. Is there someone who would like to make a motion, Chair Washington? Or?
Resolution authorizing the allocation of $55,320 of capital reserve fund unassigned fund balance for a FYE 2021 Crystal Lake Road reconstruction project. Resolved that an allocation of $55,320 from the capital reserve fund unassigned fund balance is approved by the RTM for FYE 2021 project. Project 1, reconstruction of Crystal Lake Road, account number 5504F, and authorize the town manager to sign the second supplemental project authorization letter. So
is there a second?
Second, Powers.
Thank you. So we have a motion to allocate $55,320 of capital reserve fund unassigned fund balance for the FYE 2021 Crystal Lake Road reconstruction. Motion made by Representative Washington, seconded by Representative Sean Powers. Is there any questions? I see Representative Bailey.
Yes, this is for the town manager or Mr. Hanover. When would we expect to see possibly a closeout? Seeing this is the second supplemental that we put in there. And I was just wondering who will be, when would be notified that there won't be, would it be closed out from any future supplements?
Sure, I can answer. This is, excuse me, Greg Hanover, Director of Public Works. The project has been done for a little over a year now, and this is the state's second, or it's actually third estimate. So all the bills have been paid. So this should be the final one, but it won't be completely closed out until the state does a final audit. So there is a chance we may get some money back if they find that we've overpaid. That did happen actually with the right-of-way portion of this project. We did get some money back from the state once they did the audit. So it depends on when the state gets the audit done, when we finally close the books on this.
Thank you very much.
Representative Jones?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This is just a question for Mr. Hanover. Can you just tell us what's the normal lifespan of a road? I mean, you've been working on this project, it looks like, I think since 2011 and 12, but I think it's just recently been completed. What would be the normal lifespan of a road like this?
This particular road gets a tremendous amount of traffic, probably, one of the most for a town local road. So, it was built, with quite a bit of pavement thickness. So I would say that, it's probably going to be good before it needs an overlay or anything for, 15, 20 years, something like that.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
All right, I see no other hands up, so we have a motion on the floor to allocate $55,320 of the Capital Reserve Fund unassigned fund balance for the FYE 2021 Crystal Lake Road reconstruction. That motion made by Representative Washington and seconded by Representative Powers. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes 30 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions. And we have the second to last item that we have before us tonight is a fourth quarter transfer. Would Chair Washington like to make a motion?
Okay. Resolution for FYE 2021 fourth quarter transfers. I make a motion that transfers totaling $28,104 be transferred from contingency to the following general fund department / function and refer to the RTM for approval. Insurance and claims, account number 1070065154, totaling $15,000. Increase in unemployment claims and debt service, account number 107601-5450, totaling $13,104. April 2020 schools bonds exceeded the estimated included in FYE 2021. Exceeded
Chair
the
Washington,
estimate, I'm sorry.
I think you have to add the voter registration account too, because I think you missed that. That's right above that.
No, because
we
that's
don't
only
have
9.
to add that because the RTM only approves amounts over $10,000.
Got it. Thank you for correcting me. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Did it get seconded?
I second it.
Representative Crockett Hubbard. We have a motion for a fourth quarter transfer in the amount of $28,104 transferred from contingency to the following general funds, which is insurance and claims and debt service, made by Representative Washington and seconded by Representative Crockett Hubbard.
I didn't second it.
Oh, you didn't? Who did?
No.
Sorry.
I'll second it.
I did. I think
I'll second it.
Chase, sorry. It's hard for me to see who's doing this.
I think that was Baker.
I wait for the light to.
Actually, it was Representative Baker.
Baker, thank you. Baker.
Yeah, I seconded it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor of this fourth quarter transfer of $28,104, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes unanimously. And then final one, would Chair Washington like to make a final motion of the evening? or not of the
Okay.
evening, but of this finance committee.
Resolution for FYE 2021 fourth quarter transfer. I'd like to make a motion that a transfer totaling $130,000 be transferred from contingency account 1094 to the following general fund departments / functions, and that the RTM approve that transfer. Contribution to other funds / revaluation fund, account number 107301 5230, unexpected additional legal fees not budgeted in FYE 2021. So moved.
Powers, second.
Right, we have a motion on the floor for a fourth quarter transfer in the amount of $130,000 approved for contributions to reval fund. Motion made by Representative Washington and seconded by Representative Cassieri. Is there any discussion of this? All right, seeing no hands raised. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Representative Foster, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes unanimously. Representative Foster, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand until the middle of the vote. You want to speak?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want to make sure we didn't adjourn before. I'd like to make a recommendation to send something to the Rules Committee.
Sure.
That we change the rules so that that this body doesn't make votes on the future sales of property until we have the sale price.
Seconded, Gothier.
Okay,
If that's a motion.
Okay, that's a referral. I don't know if we need a second, but I'm happy to.
You don't. You don't need a
Refer that to
second. It's
the
nice to
Rules
have it.
Committee. I think that may need some coordination with the town manager. But Representative Richards, would you take that under advisement? Chair Richards, in this case?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Representative Foster, if you had any other thoughts and you wanted to email them to me, I'll get them to Chair Richards so that she can share them with the committee.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, there is other items if there's any budget discussion or other business before we adjourn. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Fortner.
All right, I see we have a motion to adjourn by Representative Bailey, seconded by Representative Fortner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you guys for hanging in on a long meeting. Happy 4th of July, because I won't see you, and happy 4th of July to everyone in the town. So yay, have fun.
The recording has stopped.